Okay, so what I have here is I have the angle 11 pi over 12 equals 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 6. And well, what we want to do is we want to evaluate for the cosine of 11 pi over 12. All right, and really that's what I'm trying to make us do. And remember, when we were talking about evaluating for the cosine of an angle, a lot of times we either use a right triangle or we use our unit circle. But what we noticed with cosine of 11 pi over 12, that's not on a current point that we've dealt with that we can find on a unit circle. So what we want to do is sometimes we can see if we can rewrite our angle as the sum of two smaller angles that are on the unit circle. So we look at it as 3 pi over 4. If we rewrote 3 pi over 4 or 11 pi over 12 as 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 6, are those two angles that we can find on a unit circle to evaluate for? Yes. So if we are going to now, if I say cosine of 11 pi divided by 12, well, really, you can just write that as cosine of 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 6. And I wrote the definition, which you guys will have, will be allowed to use. And the cosine, when you want to take two angles and add them up together, here's your going to be formula. So what we're going to do is we're just going to write this in as our formula. So the main important thing you want to do is first determine what your u and your v are. Then, ladies and gentlemen, all we're simply going to do is plug in our values into the formula. So therefore, the cosine of u, which is 3 pi over 4, times the cosine of v, which is pi over 6, minus the sine of u, which is 3 pi over 4, times the sine of v, which is pi over 6. Does everybody follow? No. OK. Do you understand how I took this and I separated it to that? No. OK. Do you understand? Do you know that 3 pi over 4 plus pi over 6 equals 11 pi over 12? Yes. OK. So all I'm doing is I'm rewriting it as, rather than this, I'm rewriting it as these two fractions add up to that. Rather than saying cosine of this, I'm saying cosine equals this angle plus that angle, because those two angles add up to that.
What happens to the sine and sine v?
So when you take the cosine, that's the formula. So when you take the cosine of the addition, the sum of two angles, here is the formula. Okay, so I rewrote the formula, and now all I'm doing is plugging in cosine of u and cosine of v into the formula. So I'm just plugging in what my u and v are. All right? So now let's go and evaluate for 3 pi over 4 and pi over 6. So to do that, this is why I said it was so important for you guys to know your unit circle by now, because guys, you're going to be doing a lot of these problems, so it's going to be really important that you evaluate for this. So 3 pi over 4, it's right here. Knowing 3 pi over 4 is negative square root of 2 over 2, comma, square root of 2 over 2. Then pi over 6 is this angle right here. Pi over 6 is square root of 3 over 2, comma, 1/2. So remember, we're dealing with our x and our y, so to find our sine and cosines, right? So the cosine of 3 pi over 4, now all you're going to do is just evaluate each and every term. The cosine of 3 pi over 4 is negative square root of 2 over 2. The cosine of pi over 6 is square root of 3 over 2. The sine of 3 pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. And the sine of pi over 6 is the square root of 3 over 2. OK? No? Got it? Kind of? Where'd the 1/2 go? This is 1/2. Thank you. Yes?
How is it the same number as cosine and sine?
OK. Listen. Cosine of 3 pi over 4. The angle 3 pi over 4 is right here. The cosine is the x coordinate, right? This is what we learned in section 4.2. John, you need to be looking up here.
The coordinates are different, so how are we multiplying the same numbers?
Well, I'll show you. The cosine of 3 pi over 4 is negative square root of 2 divided by 2. It goes right there. The cosine of pi over 6. pi over 6 is right here. The cosine is square root of 3 divided by 2. So it goes right there. Minus the sine of 3 pi over 4. Go to 3 pi over 4. The sine of 3 pi over 4 is square root of 2 over 2. Then we go to the cosine, or the sine of pi over 6. The sine of pi over 6 is 1/2. So yeah, there's not a lot of, you're going to see, a lot of your answers are going to be very, very similar to each other. Because when we look at your unit circle, there's only so many coordinate points we had, right? Square root of 2 over 2, 1/2, and square root of 3 over 3, right? And 1 and 0. So there's not a lot of really variation in our answers. So now we just simply need to multiply this through. So therefore, I'm going to get negative square root of 6 minus the square root of 2 over 4. Then, what you guys can notice also with this is you can now, you notice that there's factorable terms. You can actually factor out a common term, which would be you could factor out a square root of 2 over 4. And that's just going to leave you with a, let's factor out a negative. So it'll leave you with a positive square root of 3 plus 1. I'm just factoring out the common terms.
Which is 2. What about the part where it's over 4?
Right. Just 4 is a common term for both of those fractions, because 4 divides into both of those.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I'll show you in another. Let me just go and turn this off, and I'll show you.
6 over 4.